Good afternoon, everyone. It is June 13th, 2024, and the Governance, Accountability, and Economic Development Committee will come to order. It is 2:04 p.m. I'm Sarah Nelson, Chair of the committee. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Kettle.
Here.
Councilmember Hollingsworth.
Present.
Councilmember Saka.
Here.
Councilmember Rivera.
Present.
Chair Nelson.
Present.
5 present.
Thank you very much. All right, before I list the items on our agenda, I just want to say that I'm noticing that if there are speakers that wish to speak on anything but items on the agenda, we will not be taking those comments because in this committee we talk about items on the agenda, so we can make sure that we get through all of the things that are listed there, and we'll have a robust conversation, which I'll describe in a second. So today we'll have 8 appointments and 3 reappointments to the Seattle International Affairs Advisory Board, a presentation from the Auditor's Office on the implementation of the recommendations found in the 2023 Organized Retail Crime Audit, with recommendations and potential next steps. And I will, that audit, for if you want to try to find it, is called "The City Can Do More to Tackle Organized Retail Crime in Seattle." So that's a good title, and we'll be talking about what we're doing. And then finally, the last item is it's Council Bill 120781, an ordinance updating definitions in the Seattle Municipal Code relating to cannabis businesses to align with state law. All right, if there's no objection, the agenda will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the agenda is adopted. All right, we'll now move into public comment on the items I just mentioned. And Taman, how many people are signed up to speak?
Council President, we have 3 in-person public commenters and 1 virtual public commenter.
All right, we will start with the in-person commenters, and everyone will get 2 minutes to speak. Could you please go over the directions and begin calling people?
Of course. I'll call on speakers in the order they signed up to speak, starting with in-person commenters. Speakers, as Council President Nelson mentioned, will have 2 minutes. When you hear the chime, you will have 10 seconds left. If you exceed that time, your microphone may be cut off so that we can move on to the next speaker. If you're offering remote public comment, please make sure to press *6 to unmute yourself. The first in-person public commenter today is going to be Alex Zimmerman.
Thank you.
Stop. Stop. No, Mr. Zimmerman, please stop and redirect your comments to something on the agenda. That is abusive language. That counts as disruptive behavior. If you continue with that, I will ask you to sit down or leave the chambers.
Thank you very much, but is everything legal? It's okay. Yeah, so for 40 years, I never see accountability in this city. This nothing unusual, you know what it means, because when you all belong to the same party, you know what it means, and when one party controls everything, this is a pure fascism. So I want something to speak about this. What is I speak for 10 years, probably 100 times. For my understanding, a couple of weeks ago, you have meeting like 250 people present. You speak for 1 minute, saying sit here for 4 hours. Next day, another meeting, something like 100 people, you know what it means, speak 1 minute, everything go for a couple of hours. Yeah. And for the last 10 years, you know what it means, I talked publicly.
Please direct your comments to something specific on the agenda.
I talk about accountability. Don't interrupt me, please. You're doing this every meeting. Don't have sense. Or have sense, I'm not too much sure. Yeah. And for many years, you know what, I speak open birthday room in City Hall 1 day per week from 9 to 9, so people can come and talk for 3 minutes. It's 2 points what is you supposed to be doing in no one council for 10 years. No one man for 10 years support this idea. Why? Because you're acting like a Nazi, like a fascist. You don't want to listen people with different opinion.
Stop the mic. You can please have a seat.
Why stop in microphone? I talk absolutely legal everything. Why you acting like a Nazi, like a fascist? Why? Can you explain
please, Mr. Zimmerman?
Why you don't accept people with different opinion? For this, you not open birthday room for 10 years because you're scared what is different people will be coming talking. Nazi pig. It's exactly who you are, and nobody accountable for this. And nobody
Go on, please.
All right, next public commenter, we have Lily Hayward.
Good afternoon, Chair Nelson and committee members. My name is Lily Hayward, and I'm here today speaking on behalf of the Seattle Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and our more than 2,500 members. During today's committee meeting, you will receive a briefing on organized retail crime and the threat that it presents to our city. Just last year, the city auditor determined that the city could be doing more to address organized retail crime in Seattle. We are hopeful that today's briefing is the beginning of a process that would result in council involvement and ultimately policy changes that will help address and prevent organized retail crime. As you know, organized retail crime is not isolated incidents of individuals stealing goods from stores. It is highly sophisticated criminal behavior that imposes serious costs on employers, employees, and customers, negatively impacting our city's business climate and hampering our efforts to revitalize downtown. As the city continues to recover from the pandemic, organized retail crime has been a stubborn and persistent barrier that has led to the loss of retailers in Seattle, particularly in our downtown core. We appreciate the auditor's effort to identify a variety of potential solutions for this behavior and are glad to see it on the agenda today. We are hopeful that this is the first step towards meaningfully addressing organized retail crime and stand ready to partner with the council as you consider next steps. Thank you.
The final in-person public commenter will be David Haynes.
Hi, my name is David Haynes. It's not fair that the previous police chief exempted drug pushers, while the present police department is virtue signaling that they care more for Wall Street, middleman, big box retail stores who need to improve their corporate security instead of just dumping the responsibility onto the police, especially when junkie thieves are right at the bus stop and the security guard at Target's looking out. He said, that's not my jurisdiction. So he doesn't even bother calling the cops. Now, previously, and a long time ago, in the last 3 mayors and chiefs have shifted the paradigm away from fighting real crime. It's like they sabotage the integrity of police reform by equating organic, proper grown marijuana with crack, meth, heroin, and fentanyl. And that drives the junkie thieves. Yet the cops never want to question properly, maybe even interrogate civilly, all the way through the jail system before they find a path for a junkie into behavioral crisis or addiction, is that they never question them to find out where they keep getting their drugs, ever. And there's all these junkie thieving, low-life pieces of crap that make it impossible to pull out your money or even think about reaching for it at some terminal at Sound Transit where the security guards are sitting there, this is my jurisdiction, I'm gonna pretty much watch over that, but there's 40 junkie thieving, low-life pieces of crap that wanna rob somebody, destroy their fellow man, and be listed non-violent, low-level misdemeanor by the previous progressives and the sabotaging of policies that have tainted the integrity of public safety and the service of government provided. And so I think you all need to realize that the police chief sabotaged every police unit of crime fighting and prioritized overtime at law-abiding events as if they're gonna boost the morale of the cops and look the other way on all these evil, low-level drug pushers. They're only looking because it's under 3.5 grams.
Thank you. That concludes in-person public commenter. We'll go over to Lou Bond. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. Lou?
Good afternoon. Lou Bond with the Melbourne Tower at 3rd and Pike, and I'm addressing the organized crime that's on the agenda, and I appreciate this being addressed. I want to echo what Lily Hayward had just said, but I want to add a few more points that can be actively done now that the City Council can help direct SPD and the Mayor's office to take immediate action, which includes removing all merchandise. When you see something being sold on the streets, that the police just confiscate it and take it away from those who are trying to sell it to continue to get their drugs. Second is to enforce all open-air drug and alcohol use. Do not allow it to continue on. Third is to begin to have more police presence at all of the retailers and in the downtown area to be able to help curb theft that's ongoing. It's a tremendous expense for these retailers and the property owners to continue to continue with this incredible expense that's unsustainable. The last point is that We want to not lose any more retailers like Target, Ross, Walgreens. We cannot afford to lose that. If we want to have recovery, we need to have serious penalties against folks that are behaving in a bad way and that are impacting the safety and morale on the street. We need to work with We Deliver Care and other organizations so those that are afflicted with their drug use to be taken off the streets, not to be allowed to do their drugs or be in a stupor on the streets, take them out and put them into a treatment center so that they cannot be here in the public eye and continuing this bad behavior. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
After you question them to find out where they got their drugs, did they get the reprieve of jail?
Council President, that concludes public comment.
Okay, that concludes public comment, and it is now closed. We will now move on to the first batch of items on the agenda. We'll consider the appointments as a group. First, the clerk will read items 1 through 11 into the record, and then Stacy Jelick will, from the Office of Intergovernmental Relations, will tell us about the advisory board and provide some information about the nominees. So, will the clerk please read items 1 through 11 into the record?
Agenda items number 1 through 11, appointments 02881, 02882, 02883, 02884, 02885, 887, 888, and 02890 and 02891 of Mark M. Gintar, Michael A. Harold, Ellie He, Heather Yang Wallach, Liz Johnson, Era Scheffler, Monique A. Thorman, and Noah Zeichler as members, Seattle International Affairs Advisory Board for a term to April 30th, 2026, and reappointments of 02886, 02889, 02890 of Jacqueline McLaren Miller, Zarin Zog Black, and David B. Woodward as members, Seattle International Advisory Board for a term to April 30th, 2026. Briefing, discussion, and possible vote.
Thank you very much. We'll have, Stacy, would you like to come on up here with come on up and have a seat. Thank you all for coming and being here today. Very much appreciate it. Good to see you. All right. All right, well, please go ahead and introduce yourselves, and then you can begin your explanation.
Sure. So I am Stacy Jelick. I'm the International Affairs Director in the Office of Intergovernmental Relations. Thank you so much for giving us time to talk with you today. So as part of my job as International Affairs Director, I manage the Seattle International Affairs Advisory Board, affectionately known as the SEAB. It's not a great acronym, but there we are. The SEAB basically serves as my international brain trust. So in my work handling international affairs for the city, handling its relationships with our consular corps, its relationships with our sister cities and other cities around the globe, I can only be an expert in so much. And so I really rely on the international, the folks in the community who do international work to help advise me on my work and thus advise you and the mayor's office on the city's international engagement, generally speaking. So we have 11 members of the International Affairs Advisory Board that you're confirming, that are up for confirmation today. These folks have actually been meeting with me every 2 months for the past, depending on the person, 2 to 4 to 6 years. So they have been volunteering on behalf of the city for a very long time already. They review the engagements that the city has at our meetings every 2 months. They help advise me on what we are doing, what we should be doing, and they have been doing that for a long time without confirmation. So we appreciate you taking up their confirmations today. Shall we have the three that are with us introduce themselves? Go from there?
Yes, please.
Hi, thank you for having us. My name is Era Schwepfer. I'm the Executive Director of the Foundation for International Understanding Through Students, or FIUTS. I have been in my role for something like 17 years and have served with Stacy for just over 2.
Can I stop you there? So Youth for Understanding, is that what you said?
No, Foundation for International Understanding Through Students.
Okay.
Most people know the organization as FIUTS.
Okay, thank you.
I am David Woodward, and I first was brought on, was it about 8 years ago, I think, have been a member of Seattle Rotary up until very recently, and I've launched the Rotary Diplomacy Roundtable, which now has been expanded to a committee of the Bellevue Rotary Club as well. And for the past 10 years, we've partnered with the Consular Association of Washington, and we've done an annual Diplomacy Day event to help our club members and our district members to become much more globally engaged. When I joined initially this body, I was the president and CEO of Associates in Cultural Exchange, which had its roots here going back to 1973, doing international education work. That has closed, but I continue on in a consulting role. And my other role is an appointment by the U.S. Department of Commerce as the chair of the Washington State District Export Council, which works statewide with all entities, state and county and city level, on promoting minority and women-owned businesses in exporting. And also been very closely involved with Seattle Chamber Trade Development Alliance over the years, now Greater Seattle Partners. And this was one of the main things I worked on, was engagement with the United Arab Emirates, which helped in setting up the Dubai-Seattle direct flight, and also assisted with the Seattle-Doha, Qatar direct flight. So it's education and economic development that I work in, and cross-cultural work. So this is a very important body, and really pleased to be able to support it. It's what I think helps Seattle as it grows to become a global city, to really have the wisdom that it needs in order to engage people across our region of the 160 languages spoken here and all the different cultures that represents, of great, great importance, I think, that is.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Ganter. I'm the president of the Consular Association. I'm also the honorary consul for Ethiopia. And surprisingly, Ethiopia has a very robust trading relationship with Washington State and Seattle. The coffee you drink, of course, and the relationship with Boeing. Ethiopian Airlines just purchased the largest order with Boeing in the history. So I thought that was pretty amazing. But anyway, the Consular Association, there's about 50 countries represented here in Washington State. We have about 75 members, and it's an honor to be here and to serve.
I'm not up for nomination, but good afternoon, council members. Sierra Howlett-Brown, I'm Deputy Director at our Office of Intergovernmental Relations, just here representing the department and the good work that Stacy and our international team has been doing.
Thank you. I will admit that I did not know very much about your work, but I can see that it is extremely important. We are one of the most trade dependent, if not the most trade dependent state in the nation, and clearly a growing city, as we saw just last year, I believe, or this year, with a new consulate general in Seattle itself. And so I can also, I must admit that as a member of Youth for Understanding, I spent my junior year in high school in France. And so I know from early on how important cultural exchange is in better understanding the world and also our own assumptions about it. So thank you very, very much for being willing to serve. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments?
Council, well, go ahead.
I always appreciate volunteers' willingness to serve in these really important roles, especially on a volunteer basis. So I just want to thank you for that service.
Go ahead.
I just want to thank all of you for being here. I had a career in international affairs as a naval intelligence officer and also as a naval diplomat at our embassy in Moscow, and service in Germany, Italy, and basically around the world. So really have that base, but it's furthered because after I retired from the Navy and moved back to Seattle or to the area, I joined the board of the World Affairs Council for the better part of a decade, just shy of a decade. So I can emphatically support the appointment number 02886 for Jackie Miller, who is a fantastic resource for the group, but also as through the World Affairs Council, a fantastic resource for our city. And so I know that we can do more to facilitate this connection to the points made in terms of making Seattle more of a global city. It has this dual kind of piece to it. When I first moved here after retiring from the Navy, such a globally connected city, particularly with Amazon and Microsoft and Boeing, as you mentioned, and all these other companies, Starbucks, but at the same time had a bit of a regional, kind of city feel to it. And I think we should be embracing more the global piece because of the importance of international trade, particularly to Washington State, as I'm sure there's stats that you all have on the top of your head that you can prove it. So thank you for being here, and I appreciate it. And again, I double thumbs up for Jackie Miller as on the board. Make sure you tell her that, too.
Councilmember Saka?
Oh, sure. No, thank you, Madam Council President. And thank you all for your willingness to step up and serve. You've all served in various capacities. I've read all the sort of like applicant materials here. You've served in some cases, your country, and now proud that you're stepping up, or at least formally here now, to serve your city. So it's greatly appreciated. This 100% volunteer power organizations and like boards and commission service, that work matters. It's really important. I've done a lot of it myself, and you're not only just advising the experts and leaders in this executive department. I want you all to know that your work is appreciated at our level too. Just the other day, true story, I personally called up a few members of one of our city volunteer commissions to get some additional context on something that appeared in one of their reports. Personally called them. So your work is greatly appreciated, and thank you for stepping up to serve.
How do you, for some of the commissions, it's pretty easy to, some of the commissions have a lot of people are very familiar with out there. So how do you recruit or do outreach for your membership?
With the CIOB, we don't do specific outreach. Right now, there's actually, I think, still 10 seats that are open on the CIOB board. We have had existing members, because they are connected with international work around the city, give us names and ideas of names of people who they think might be interested, or contacts at companies, or we're supposed to represent for-profit, nonprofit, education, cultural organizations, and governmental institutions. So we get names from our current members who are involved in those kinds of organizations submitted to us. And then we had established an executive committee that sort of would review those and push them forward for consideration or not to be on the board. What we're really looking for is people who can help connect us to larger organizations. So when we have a visiting group from a particular country, I can reach out to World Affairs Council, University of Washington, Amazon, and say, hey, what are you all doing in that country? Do you have somebody working on a thing? Does UW have a new program related to that place? So that we can really know what's going on around the city related to that country. So we're looking for folks. I have somebody at the Gates Foundation, right? When we have visiting delegations, we're looking for folks who can say, hey, we've got a visiting delegation from this place. There's somebody in our organization that would love to talk to them because we're also doing something in that place. So we're trying to basically find people who are connectors to their larger organizations, because I can know 10 people, but then they know hundreds of people in their networks. So that's kind of how we look for folks.
I understand. And plus you have 21 sister cities that you take.
20 sister cities right now officially, yes.
Right, okay. Well, I now consider myself informed and delighted to know more about this resource for myself, because it's always important to know.
Yes, anytime the council has questions, I always take issues that arise from the council, and I will put them in front of the board so that they can provide input, and that could be directly with you or through me, either way.
Okay. Well, I heard mentioned a couple times of the Consular Association, so please let me know how I can. I would like to know more about that as well, and if there's any way that that the city can help in your mission as well.
Great.
Probably
I think
has
the
a trickle-down
Consular
effect
Association would probably be happy to have some council members come to their monthly luncheons.
If I could make one comment on that. In my 10 years working with the consular officials as they come through town, particularly those that are career officials, we would always reach out to them to join the activity here so they felt welcomed. And one of the things that I learned in the process, including going to the governor's remarks in January, as I got to know these consular officials, both career and honorary, is that there was a sense that in our region, we were not doing as much as they were doing in places like San Francisco, LA, et cetera. And that's because we're just really kind of emerging on the scene. But the consular officials who are career officials, these can be, they could be ambassadors at any country. And so sometimes there was a bit of frustration, in my view, that we weren't doing more to advocate for that kind of work. So if the city council and the mayor's office and so forth do reach out, they will be very, very appreciative. I'm just saying that on behalf of Mark and his community as an advocate for them.
Council President.
Yeah, I guess my only comment on that is we certainly welcome increased activity with the city. Whether it's trade, economics, various there's many opportunities. I would probably say that at least during the pandemic, there was obviously a drop in a lot of the interaction between the city and the Consular Association, and we have been working over the past year to, you could say, rectify that. And so we look forward to a little increase in engagement over the course of the next few years.
All right. I accept the invitation. Councilmember, no, Kettle, excuse me.
So, you know, there's a saying in the Navy that Navy stands for never again volunteer yourself. So with that said, I'm willing, and really the consulates are essentially my constituents. So I've already met with 2 consul generals. As it turned out, I sent an email on behalf of Consul General this morning related to an issue facing the city, which I probably should debrief you on. And so, yes, I would be more than happy as a retired Navy guy / board member of the World Affairs Council to do that. And most importantly, council member of the city council, because they are my constituents.
All right, thank you very much again for giving of your time, expertise, and your passion for the world beyond Seattle. So if there are no other comments, I'm ready to proceed to the vote, please. I move appointments, let's see. I move appointment 02881 through appointment 02881, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, and then 90 and 91. That is all of them together. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Ready. Oh, yeah, the nod doesn't really get down on the record very well. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Kettle?
Aye.
Councilmember Hollingsworth?
Yes.
Councilmember Saka?
Aye.
Councilmember Rivera?
Aye.
Chair Nelson?
Aye.
5 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you very much. All of the appointments are confirmed, and you are welcome to come to the full council meeting when, not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday when these are voted out of full council. They will be on the the consent agenda, but you're welcome to come if you would like.
Very good.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to our second item here that I briefly mentioned and nodded to at the beginning of the meeting. Speakers can come on up and take your seats. I'll just say that it was almost a year ago that this audit came out that I held up called it was an audit on organized retail crime in Seattle, and it was about a year ago that this was presented, and I was impressed with both the breadth and the depth of the research that went into this audit and its recommendations, and it's been a priority to check in and see how the city is progressing on implementation of some of the recommendations, or of all the recommendations. And I have to say that this is in my committee only because the auditor reports to the governance committee, and also because there's such a strong link with economic development. However, it could very well have been in public safety as well. I believe that and from the comments of the chamber everybody is concerned about this. I must say that there's data about property crime, but from what really matters is despite what all the data say, it's still too much. And retail theft is often lumped into the property crime bucket, but however, it's often accompanied with violence, threats of violence, intimidation of the people working in a retail establishment, their customers, et cetera. And so we can't separate property from violent crime, and we must always keep in mind what this is doing to our businesses, and not just in downtown, but in neighborhood business districts. Sometimes it's the big stores that announce a closure downtown that really grab a headline and steer the conversation. But I'm thinking also about all those establishments in neighborhood business districts all over the city, and their margins are so thin that they cannot afford those losses. And so I'm really wanting us to consider that when we are hearing about the audit and some of the recommendations, we're not just talking about downtown here. We're talking about this whole city. So, and obviously we've got a fentanyl crisis, and there is, as you mentioned, I believe a year ago today, some of the linkages between addiction, street crime, and retail crime, and the upstream and the downstream causes and effects. And this audit, I believe, focused on one part of the chain, which is the fencing operations. So I look forward to hearing more, and please introduce yourselves and then begin your presentation, then we'll ask questions afterwards.
I can't tell if the mic is on.
Yeah,
yes,
but,
it is. Okay, very good.
Before you go ahead, we will just read it into the record, please.
Agenda item number 12, 2023 Organized Retail Crime Audit Overview. Briefing and discussion.
Go ahead. Now it's official.
I'm Mark Johnson, Senior Vice President of Policy and Government Affairs for the Washington Retail Association. Thanks for having me.
I'm Claudia Gross-Shader. I'm the Director of Research and Evaluation with the City of Seattle Office of City Auditor.
And I'm Barb Biondo. I'm a Crime Prevention Coordinator with the Seattle Police Department based out of the West Precinct.
Hi, council members. Quinn Pham. I'm the Executive Director with the Friends of Little Saigon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Council Member and Madam President Nelson, council members and members of this committee. My name is Natalie Walton Anderson, and I am the Director of Public Safety for the Mayor's Office, serving our city.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patrick Hines. I'm a Senior Deputy Prosecuting Attorney with the King County Prosecutor's Office, and I currently serve as the Chief Deputy of our Economic Crimes and Wage Theft Division.
All right.
Council President and council members, thank you so much for having us here today to provide an update on our 2023 audit of organized retail crime. I'd like to note that we may refer to organized retail crime as ORC throughout the presentation. It's very important today, though, to acknowledge that we're here before you during a time when our Seattle community has just experienced tragic losses from violent crimes. The Seattle Police Department's already limited resources are further strained in responding to these violent crimes. And we recognize that organized retail crime is also part of our public safety ecosystem here in Seattle. All of these issues can hinder the ability of the people of Seattle, Seattle businesses, and Seattle neighborhoods to thrive. Therefore, the steps that we outlined in our 2023 audit report recognize that the Seattle Police Department does have limited resources, and also sometimes the most effective strategies for addressing organized retail crime don't fall to the police alone. That's why our 7 steps for improving the city's approach to organized retail crime, including leveraging the power of collaborations and using technology and making changes to the physical environment. Our audit report is on our website. Oh, yep, you can see it up there. The previous slide, thank you. And with all of our audits, we followed the U.S. government auditing standards, so you can be assured of the quality and independence of our work. In addition, for this audit, we asked researchers at the Center for Evidence-Based Crime Policy and at the Loss Prevention Research Council to provide input on this report. And in conducting our audit last year, we worked very closely with all of the agencies listed here on this slide, and they all provided feedback on our report and on the recommendations. So we're really grateful for the collaboration, and we're happy to have some of these agencies represented here today. Now, part of our office protocol is our annual recommendations follow-up process. And we recently published our recommendations follow-up report and our dashboard. And the 10 recommendations in this audit report are all currently pending. So we will continue to follow up on these recommendations. Now I'll provide a quick overview, starting with the next slide. What is organized retail crime? There's not a universal definition of ORC, but it generally involves an organized effort to steal merchandise and convert that merchandise into financial gain. In ORC operations, there are generally boosters who steal goods on behalf of fences. Fences then sell the merchandise for profit. ORC does not include petty theft or poverty-driven crimes. There's evidence that ORC has increased in recent years because of online marketplaces that can be used to resell the stolen merchandise. ORC operations can be small or large. For example, a single individual can function as both a booster and a fence. For example, they may steal a power tool and then resell it in an online marketplace. Other ORC operations can involve millions of dollars of stolen merchandise. And the U.S. Department of Homeland Security indicates that this can be linked with other serious crimes, including narcotics trafficking, human trafficking, money laundering, and terrorism. As the council president noted, our audit did not address all aspects of ORC. We focused our analysis on the fencing operations that underpin ORC. And fencing is the practice of the reselling the stolen goods through online marketplaces, unregulated markets, and storefronts that buy stolen goods, and also by shipping goods outside of the U.S. So next slide, please. ORC is a concern for retailers of all sizes and in all areas of Seattle. In addition, our audit found that ORC is also affecting Seattle Police Department resources. We found that in 2022, Seattle Police responded to over 13,000 calls for service from 100 Seattle retailers. And responding to those calls cost police officers over 18,000 hours of time, which is the equivalent of the work of 9 full-time officers. That said, it's vitally important for retailers to report these crimes to the police. This helps the police understand the magnitude of the problem. It helps prioritize directing resources, and it helps with the prosecution of these cases. Next slide, please. Getting into the recommendations quickly, we found that city staff currently do participate in collaborations with other agencies that can help address organized retail crime. These collaborations include the ORC Task Force in the Washington State Attorney General's Office, the Washington Organized Retail Crime Association, and the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Vibrant Communities Initiative that we'll hear a little bit about today. We recommended in our audit that the city could get more and the most out of these collaborations by improving its own internal communication and coordination around ORC. So this might include creating a list of ORC fencing cases that the city would like to prioritize and making coordinated requests for assistance from these agencies. The next slide, please. Our second step builds on this theme. Crime analysis can also support ORC investigations, and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security has made ORC a priority. In October of 22, they created an initiative called Operation Boiling Point, and that initiative is designed to pursue large ORC investigations. This includes an analytics group that can help support local governments, including Seattle. And this could be especially useful for help investigating fencing operations in Seattle with known international ties. For example, during the course of our audit, we learned that a bottle of perfume stolen in North Seattle could be on a shipping container bound for an international destination within 24 hours. Natalie Walton Anderson from the Mayor's Office is here today, and she can share that Homeland Security Investigations is currently working with SPD on major crimes on some large ORC fencing cases in Seattle. Slide 3, or next slide, please, step 3. We learned from law enforcement officers from other jurisdictions that the boosters themselves can be an important source of information on the fencing operations. However, the Seattle Police Department does not currently interview boosters to gather the information on the fencing operations. We recommend that this be prioritized. And here, this is another area where the Department of Homeland Security has offered to help with these interviews of boosters. Next slide, please. We also recommend that the city look at ways that new technology can be used to help improve ORC reporting and investigations. One example from our report is called Rapid Video Response, which instead of sending a patrol officer to respond to a call for service in a patrol car, the caller has the option of doing a video call with a specially trained officer. Rapid Video Response has been deployed in England, and it's been evaluated in a rigorous impact evaluation in Kent, England, which is a county of about 1.9 million people. And what they found is that Rapid Video Response resulted in an average 3-minute response time that is over 600 times faster than response as usual. It also resulted in greater victim satisfaction and more arrests of offenders. And a side benefit that they found in England is that there was greater officer satisfaction, job satisfaction, and retention of their officers. And subsequently, Rapid Video Response has been deployed in 6 other jurisdictions in England. An update on this recommendation. Okay, yes, Council President.
I'm going to break my rule, but just please. That technology, you mentioned Kent, but is it not deployed in any U.S. city or anywhere on the West Coast, or why not? Sounds great.
It does sound great. In our report, we have a link to a deployment of the similar technology in Antonio in their fire department. They use this rapid video response for low-level medical calls. The example that they give in the video that's linked in our report is somebody's cooking in the kitchen and they accidentally cut themselves with a knife. And they're given the option of, do you want a medic to come to your scene, or would you like a video chat with a specially trained medic? So it is being deployed in San Antonio currently. And there is an opportunity for the city. I know that the city is currently looking at real-time crime center software. And some of these software systems for the real-time crime center do have modules that allow for rapid video response.
And Madam Chair, if I may just add, I think it's worth adding that retailers really want to give this a try here in the U.S., in Seattle. When Claudia briefed the WAORCA president and vice president, they were very, very excited about speeding up the time. As you heard, 3 minutes, that would be incredible for these retailers to be able to have that kind of interaction in such a rapid response. So we really want to give this a try.
Got it. Well, that leads me to the question, has this been a discussion? Have we talked about that at all with the executive? I say we because the auditor, you're kind of sort of officially part of the legislative department, but has there been a positive or receptive response, or maybe we can talk about that later? Do you want
Well, and I think that would be a great question for Natalie if you want to address it now or wait till your remarks.
Sure, the Real-Time Crime Center does have that capability. It is something that, we are interested in supporting. In addition to that, the Real-Time Crime Center would also have the ability for our retailers to be able to upload CCTV video immediately. And as a former prosecutor and current prosecutor will say, our cases don't get better with time. So the quicker that the police can have this information, the better it will be for everybody in terms of investigations and being able to hold people responsible and accountable and reduce the amount of organized retail crime that we have in this city.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
I am in touch with the police commander from England who led the evaluation in Kent and is leading the 7 jurisdiction response. So that's something that I would certainly offer to the executive, is to put in touch for some lessons learned.
Thank you.
Okay. Next slide, please. Some fences sell goods out of physical locations, like storefronts and at illegal street markets. And to address those fencing operations, our report recommends that the city consider working with the surrounding community to use place-based strategies. This would include changes to the physical environment, like improving lighting and making storefront improvements. And our audit includes an excellent report. It's a link to a report written by Barb Biondo from the Seattle Police Department, who's here today. And this report details 68 specific place-based improvements that could reduce crime, and including the illegal street markets that operate at 12th and Jackson. And Quinn Pham, the executive director of Friends of Little Saigon, and Barb are here today with, I think, a very exciting update on that recommendation. Next slide, please. Patrick Hines is also here today from the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. And during the course of our audit, Patrick's colleague, Nicole Lawson, developed a checklist of the information needed to prosecute ORC cases. And the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office is willing to train SPD and other city staff on the use of the checklist. Next slide, please. We also recommended that the city lend its support for legislation that can better address ORC. And Mark Johnson from the Washington Retail Association is here today with a legislative update. Next slide, please. All right, again, thank you so much for your interest. We hope that our audit has been a starting point for the city for positive change in organized retail crime. With that, I will hand it over to Natalie Walton Anderson from the Mayor's Office.
Thank you, Dr. Grosshader. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to provide some updates on behalf of the Mayor's Office. With the exception of Council President Nelson, this is my first time appearing officially in front of you all in this role. And I also want to express some deep appreciation to Dr. Grosshader for just raising and acknowledging the recent gun violence that's happened in our city. I know it's at the forefront of all of our minds, and I have seen several council members out in the community at events, and I've read all of your letters of support to the community as we go through this time. And with that, organized retail crime has also become something that is increased in terms of brazenness and violence. It is something that the Mayor's Office continues to recognize and focus on because the economic success of our entire city depends on it. And the impact on our local businesses cannot be understated. So with that, the Mayor's Office has been supportive of the thoughtful and thorough recommendations that were made in this report, taking into consideration the challenges with our limited resources. So with that, I would love to provide some updates to the council. Thank you. I think first, one of the recommendations indicated increased collaboration, and I want to provide some updates in terms of what our local agencies have been doing in terms of that. The Attorney General's Office created the Washington State Organized Retail Crime Task Force, and we've had significant representation from both Seattle Police Department and also the Seattle City Attorney's Office in that task force. That's important because that's a regional approach, statewide approach to increase our communication with our local partners, the investigators, and work together to provide information more efficiently. In addition to that, RELA, the Retail Industry Leaders Association, developed the Vibrant Communities Initiative. And again, both the Seattle Police Department and the Seattle City Attorney's Office have been participating in that. That is key because they are highlighting our most prolific individuals, sharing that information, which again, creates saving in terms of time and resources toward the investigation. And those are both examples of how we've improved the collaboration since the recommendations came out in this report. Going more toward collaboration, Dr. Gross-Shader indicated it earlier, but Seattle Police Department has been actively collaborating with our federal partners. SPD has been working with Homeland Security investigations to utilize the resources and the data that is essential to investigate the work and also to get better outcomes for our charged cases. The outcomes of those charged cases are probably best described by my former colleague, Patrick Hines, Chief Deputy of the Economic Crimes Unit, and I have a feeling he'll be providing more of that information in his presentation. But ultimately, we need more officers. We need more officers and to do this investigative work. And I'm thrilled to report that since the council had signed approved the new police contract, our increase in applications have surged. Just for some context, this time last year, we were at a little over 5 applications per day. And since the council approved the new contract, thank you, council, there have been an average of 17 applications per day. But we need more officers. And while I am celebrating that news, and I brought recruitment cards because all of you should have them and be handing them out to get people to come and really make a difference. That upward trend in applications is going to take a while to show in terms of hires, and I want to make sure that that's also understood. Again, we kind of talked already about the technology updates. I think one is Seattle Police Department has updated their online reporting system to include the retail theft program, but ultimately the real-time crime center would allow for all kinds of capabilities in terms of technology. And we did talk about the fact that the capability would be there for the rapid video response. But the other opportunities, as I mentioned earlier, is really the ability for our retailers, especially our smaller retailers, to be able to utilize that technology with less impact in terms of the fact that they are smaller and they have less staff. Voting on this technology is coming up soon, and I know council's aware of that. So I really appreciate the opportunity on behalf of the mayor's office to present this update. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and next we'll hear from Quinn Pham and Barb Biondo about an update related to Little Saigon.
Thanks, Claudia. Good afternoon again. Quinn Pham with the Friends of Little Saigon. So as many of you are aware, Little Saigon, as part of the Greater Chinatown International District, has been experiencing a host of health and safety issues for many years, and it's layered with development and gentrification pressures. So we're now at a place where we acknowledge that the efforts have come through the neighborhood to address many of these issues, but we also need to recognize that the solutions that have come across the neighborhood have not made significant impacts. But our streets are not safe. People are still saying that they don't feel comfortable just walking outside around on their own. Employees and businesses constantly feel threatened by issues happening in their storefront on a daily basis. We see drug use, EBT trafficking, and of course the fencing of stolen goods is still at front and center in the neighborhood. So this may be because of our proximity to downtown, some high vacancy rates, and that we're a majority low-income community. These add to the reasons why certain activities take place and persist in the neighborhood. So we've come together with our city partners to take a different approach, not a new one, because you probably are familiar with this, but one that would take crime data and these environmental and social factors into consideration so that we can understand some of the root causes, develop a diagnosis, and build a healthier ecosystem for the neighborhood because all of these issues are very interconnected. So we're calling this the FODAP, or Beautiful Neighborhood Project. And the approach is based off of the Rainier Beach, A Beautiful Neighborhood for Youth initiative that both Claudia and Barb have been very involved with. So I'll pass it on to Barb to talk a little bit about it.
Thank you, Quinn. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here today to talk about FODEP, which is a place-based crime prevention initiative that was launched in April of this year. And the effort is a focus on the open-air drug market activity that Quinn described, which is also involves the associated crimes, including violent crime, pardon me, and also the street disorder. And what we also know is now a hotspot for overdose response for the Seattle Fire Department. We found that out with their data in 2023. So a place-based crime prevention initiative, I like to explain, is a way for the city to use all the tools in our public safety toolbox because it provides a framework and it helps identify and guide other stakeholders that are not law enforcement to their critical roles in helping create and maintain safe neighborhoods. So that's exactly what we're doing by engaging those stakeholders that are most impacted in Little Saigon by the crime and the violence and the overdose and the daily exposure to that, including youth that attend schools right in the neighborhood. We're hoping to bring those expertise to bear on the problem. We know for a fact that neighborhoods where we have language and cultural differences and lack of trust in law enforcement in particular, or maybe in general on government, oftentimes crime is not reported. So we know that crime only tells half the story. Quinn and I had the great fortune yesterday to meet with students, fifth graders at Bailey Gatzert Elementary School, which is just adjacent to Little Saigon neighborhood, to talk about the project and gather their input on what they think beautiful neighborhood means to them. And we got a lot of great input. So I used this analogy, hope you don't mind me sharing it with you all as well, but to explain how this approach differs from other law enforcement strategies. I used the example of, fifth graders, you go to the doctor, you go for your annual checkup, or when you're sick. I said, what happens when you go to the doctor? What are the things that every single time you go that happens? And one student raised his hand and said, oh yeah, they put that thing on my wrist and my arm and take my blood pressure, and they talked about temperature and things like that, and weighing and measuring their height. And I said, yes, that's the doctor gathering data about how you're doing, how your health is doing. But I said, it's more than that though, right? The doctor then talks with you, asks you questions. So this is exactly our intent, is to engage those local experts to help fill in the gaps, to help deepen our understanding. So to the next slide. The update for us is that in June, we have launched our phase 1 effort. I have to thank the Seattle Police Foundation actually for spearheading the fundraising. We were able to pull together both public and private funding for phase 1, which will help allows us to partner with the Friends of Little Saigon to convene those stakeholders and go through the place-based problem-solving process. I also have to thank my colleagues over at the Department of Neighborhoods who very nimbly stepped in and executed the contract that allows us to do this work with this trusted community partner. And then also the SPD data team and our grants team, they're already busy pulling data, and then we're applying for funding for implementation, even though we don't have the plan in place, but we will be using and looking at evidence-based strategies to do this work. It's a multi-year effort. So, thank you.
Go to the next slide.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. There is one more slide. Yes, this is a preliminary slide of the 3 areas based on the crime data that we're able to look at now, and also based on a review of the physical environment and including activity patterns, that we have 3 distinct areas that have different crime patterns and different stakeholder groups. So we're going to be approaching this project in looking at three areas under the umbrella of FODEP, but as individual sites.
Thank you, Quinn and Barb. And now we'll go to Mark Johnson for a legislative update.
Thank you, Claudia. President Nelson, members of the committee, Mark Johnson with the Retail Association. Thank you for having me today. Organized retail crime isn't just a Seattle problem. It's not just a King County problem. It's not even just a Washington State or even a national problem. It is truly an international problem. Last year, retail thieves stole over $115 billion in product from retailers across the country. That's $3 billion in the state of Washington alone. Not only is the loss to those retailers traumatic, but the loss of tax revenue, just on the back of a napkin, we're talking over $300 million in sales and B&O tax was not collected because of these stolen products. And taking the money out of it altogether, it's the traumatic event of this to the workers at these retail establishments and to the customers at the retail stores. And as the council president pointed out, the last thing a retailer wants to do is close their doors. They're in the business of opening retail stores. It takes lots of time and resources to open a retail establishment, but when it comes to being an unsafe, unprofitable facility, they have to make that really tough decision to shut their doors. And so we're hoping that efforts at the national, at the state, and at the local level will turn the tide. And I'm here today to offer a picture of hope and optimism because I'm really excited about all levels of government recognizing the severity of this problem and taking very necessary steps to address this. A lot of people ask me, well, what's the solution to organized retail crime? And I go, well, there's not one solution. It's going to take a multi-pronged approach or a multiple suite of activities and strategies to get at it. And this report, which I'll commend the auditor's office for producing, is an excellent step-by-step process on how to get at it. On a federal level, our Congress is poised to pass before the August recess the CORCA Act, Combating Organized Retail Crime Act. It would bring together the Office of Homeland Security, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the U.S. Secret Service, all the federal agencies working together to combat organized retail crime nationally, in our state, and internationally. So we're very excited. 6 of our congressional delegations are co-sponsors of H.R. 895, and we're very excited, and we're pushing hard for that to be approved before the end of Congress this year. On a state level, the state legislature has really been starting to focus in on this problem. And it's not just, Claudia mentioned boosters. These boosters, many of them are victims as well. They're suffering from a substance abuse addiction. They're suffering from a behavioral health issue. They're suffering from housing insecurity. These are easy to prey on by these organized retail crime rings because they know they'll do anything, including stealing product from a retailer, in order to monetize that and get the thing that they're after. So they're being preyed on too. And if we're just locking them up in jail, that is not the solution. If we're just taking them to Providence, that is not the solution. They need specialized treatment for whatever they're suffering from. They need housing. They need the substance abuse treatment, the behavioral health treatment. So we have supported a suite of bills legislatively, and the legislature has recognized this. And I was really excited that the governor announced just last week that by the end of the year, we'll have 600 new behavioral health beds in the state of Washington. And that's part of the solution. And then being able to treat these individuals with substance abuse. The 23-hour crisis residential centers was just passed last year, expanded to include all ages, 18 and below. It was, the original legislation was 18 and above. So now we'll include all ages because retail thieves and these retail theft rings prey on any age. They don't care if you're 18 or over. So now it'll include all of them. We will be going to the 2025 legislative session with a very robust retail theft, organized retail crime, and public safety package. And I ask for the council's help in pushing this package, which will include efforts to retain and to recruit law enforcement and prosecutors. It will also include new tools. The high utilizer initiative that the city attorney has been very successfully deploying in this city will be made statewide. We have just tool after tool and a robust funding package. I'm really glad that a number of legislative and gubernatorial candidates are making this a priority for them as they run for office, because we're very optimistic that the legislature will address this. And then just to wrap up on a very local level, former Governor Christine Gregoire, the leader of Challenge Seattle, and the Washington Retail Association is convening a public safety, retail theft, organized retail crime summit October the 2nd. It is being hosted by Microsoft on their campus. The president will be giving us the welcome, Brad Smith, and we will have a half-day long, including all jurisdictions within the city, in the King County, will be invited to participate. Police chiefs, mayors, council members, decision makers, retailers at the highest level will be invited to this summit to all get us rowing in the same direction and to hopefully launch a push to have this legislative package down at Olympia eventually approved. So my ask for you today and for the mayor's office is please help us get this legislation through this coming legislative session. I really do appreciate you having me here. Thank you.
Before we move on to the next person, just because it's in my mind, I know that our state legislative team from OIR is trying to meet with council members before we get into budget to identify their priorities. So maybe it would be good to have more information about that. Maybe you could send me something, or we could meet so that I can more articulately represent what you're trying to do in the package and what it contains.
Thank you. Absolutely. Part of our strategy will be to keeping the mayor's office, your office, all of the council members' offices very well informed on as we're compiling the package and putting it together. We're looking for other suggestions too, if the prosecutors, law enforcement, auditors have any ideas of what should be included in this, please let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And we'll hear now from Patrick Hines on a prosecution update.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Madam President, members of the council. The prosecuting attorney's office has long recognized the harmful impact of organized retail crimes. There's some that are obvious, right? That it is an economic crime that impacts businesses, both large and small. And that can be significant. It can be significant to the point that businesses are closing, small businesses, but also large businesses, based purely on the fact that economically and financially, they cannot survive based on the amount of merchandise that they are losing as a result of these thefts. But I think it goes beyond that, because what a lot of these thefts have in common is the risk of violence, either actual violent behavior or the threat of violence. And that violence can be substantial violence. And that impacts both the people who work for the retailers, the employees, the patrons and customers of those businesses in a way that further feeds on itself to drive down business and drive some of these companies or these retailers out of business. And I think it's really important to think about what that means, because it's not just a loss to the retailer. It's not just a loss to whoever owns that store. It's a loss to the city and to the neighborhood. Nationally and in the media, there's a lot of focus on the big retailers that leave like the downtown core. But we also need to think about the mom and pop shops, the corner stores, the other businesses that go out of business as a result of organized retail crime. Many of those happen to be, or not happen to be, are in disadvantaged areas, areas that are heavily BIPOC or heavily immigrant. And so these are not just issues of economic crimes. This is a public safety issue. And it's also a race equity and social justice issue when you look at who bears the fundamental price when these businesses go out of business due to organized retail theft. Part of our commitment and taking this seriously is our willingness to be good partners and wanting to be good partners with anyone else who wants to be active in this space and be combating retail crimes. That obviously, when we talk about the city of Seattle, includes the Seattle Police Department, the Seattle City Attorney's Office, and others involved in the city's response to this criminal behavior. In that context, we're profoundly grateful to the Auditor's Office for doing this report, for inviting us to be here this afternoon, and to the committee and the council for being willing to hear from us on this. I wanted to use the remainder of my time to update the council on two things that has sort of changed or has happened in the last 11 months or so since we were here when the auditor's office first presented this report. The first is just some data trends, just to update you all on what we are seeing. For the period of time covering August 1st of 2023 to May 1st of 2024, so about 10-ish months, the King County Prosecutor's Office has filed 78 cases involving retail theft, that is felony cases, with 154 counts against 76 defendants. That's county-wide. When we break it down by city or referring agency from the Seattle Police Department accounts for about a third of those cases. 26 cases, 44 counts, 24 defendants. At the other end of the process from the filing of charges is obviously the disposition of the case, by which we mean either a guilty plea, a guilty verdict following trial, a not guilty, a dismissal, something that ends the case. Over those 10 months from August to the beginning of May, we have had 67 total cases disposed of. Of those, 49 were cases involving convictions on 83 counts. 18 cases were dismissed, 26 counts were dismissed. Again, if you look at that's for the county. If you look at the individual cases based on referring agency for the Seattle Police Department, depending on how you look, which particular data point you look at, accounts for about a quarter to about a half of that. So for example, of the cases totally resolved of those 67, 30 of them started with referrals from the Seattle Police Department. I would also indicate that when you look at that data, it can be very hard to parse out exactly what that means, because one of the issues with organized retail theft is that the people who commit the crime don't pay attention to jurisdictional boundaries. If they do, they pay attention to them only because they know that it decreases the chances that they'll be caught or prosecuted. And so there is some inherent asterisk or wiggle room in these data points. We very much frequently have the situation where someone has committed a retail crime in Seattle and Burien and Bellevue, just to pick 3 cities at random. And depending on which law enforcement agency takes the ultimate step of packaging that together and submitting it to us, that would be counted as the referring agency. So those SPD numbers involve some cases where SPD is sending us cases from other jurisdictions. It also excludes some cases where SPD is involved but isn't counted as the referring agency because it happens to be a Bellevue detective who packaged it. But that is the data that I can parse for you easily today. The takeaway from that, I think, is that the King County Prosecutor's Office is very active in this space. We are routinely filing and actively prosecuting these cases based on referrals from all of our law enforcement partners, which includes the Seattle Police Department. The second takeaway is that this is an area of ongoing concern. This is ongoing criminal activity that needs to be taken very, very seriously for the reasons I mentioned earlier, as well as mentioned by the other panelists today. The second thing that I wanted to update the committee on is the Vibrant Communities Initiative. You may have heard reference to it. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. For those who aren't familiar with it, the Vibrant Communities Initiative is a joint project of RELA, which is the Retail Industry Leaders Association, and the NDAA, which is the National District Attorneys Association. Those organizations are aware, as many are, that underlying social challenges like drug addiction, like homelessness, like mental illness have only exacerbated an existing retail crimes problem. But addressing those problems requires commitment from a diverse group of stakeholders, and the goal of the Vibrant Communities Initiative is to build a framework for retailers to collaborate with those key stakeholders. Those key stakeholders include sort of the people you would obviously think of it including. It includes prosecutors, law enforcement, social service organizations, local policy makers, civic and business groups, and community groups of all kinds, all working together to identify, test, and promote efficient approaches to combating the problems of retail crimes and of the violence against employees and patrons of these businesses that goes along with it. The Vibrant Communities Initiative started with 2 pilot jurisdictions. One is Yolo County, California, which is the West Sacramento area, and the other is King County. We're one of 2 pilot jurisdictions in the country launching this program. Within those pilot projects, the idea is that Vibrant Communities seeks to do a number of things. First is seeking to identify patterns of common high impact offenders, because recent research done indicates that in many places, over 90% of the loss suffered by retailers is due to criminal acts by 10% or less of the people committing these crimes. So this is an area where you have a disproportionate impact from certain limited number of offenders. The pilot project also seeks to define and communicate the requirements for successful prosecution to both retailers and law enforcement. That's the idea of things like the checklist, of having the prosecutors, the people who are doing the criminal prosecution, be on the same page as the retailers and law enforcement as to what we need in order to successfully prosecute a case. The initiative is also seeking to test a suite of integrated technologies that are designed to enhance investigations and impact crime mitigation strategies. And also, and last but certainly not least, by no means least, to identify and support diversion programs that reduce recidivism. The Vibrant Communities pilot projects launched in late August of last year, so we've been going for about 10 months or so at this point. The King County Prosecutor's Office is proud to be part of the program, and I'd note, as other panelists have, that the Seattle City Attorney's Office and the Seattle Police Department are both also active participants, in the program. There are a number of working groups within the program that meet on a weekly basis. There was one today that one of my deputies was on. I was on, someone from the Seattle City Attorney's Office, a sergeant and a detective, at least if not more, from the Seattle Police Department. These are active working groups, and we are starting to see the fruits of that activity. King County Prosecutor's Office is probably obviously most involved in the prosecution and prosecution adjacent work groups, and that's where we see the real impact because it directly impacts our work as criminal prosecutors. I'm honestly less familiar with the groups that are working on technology and diversion, but I know that they are hard at work, and that has been proceeding as well. So obviously this is some area where we still have lots to do and a long way to go in addressing the problem, but the prosecutor's office is proud of the work we're doing. We're grateful for the chance to talk about it, and we're also thankful and very appreciative for our partnership with various Seattle City agencies, particularly the Seattle City Attorney's Office, the Seattle Police Department, and the Auditor's Office. It has been a great working group, and I very much appreciate the chance to come and talk about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our presentation. We'd love to hear your questions.
Where do I start? I have a number of questions, but I will first let our co-chair and chair of public safety say some remarks, ask some questions. I'm trying to, he's trying to model good behavior by letting his vice chair always ask the first things. I'm not quite 100% bought into that, but I'll turn it over to you for a second. But one question, were those 78 cases all adults?
That data that I gave was adult cases. I don't have the data on juvenile.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kettle.
Thank you, Chair. First, thank you, Ms. Groschader and Mr. Jones behind you for the report. I have read it. Thank you very much from start to finish. And I also want to welcome you both, plus the other members of the panel, although I do have to extend a special welcome to Ms. Biondo, who I've been working with for years from a community perspective in Queen Anne within the West Precinct, so special welcome to her. I am the vice chair of the Governance, Accountability, and Economic Development Committee, but I do chair the Public Safety Committee. And this topic is very, very important to me, and I'm very excited for this meeting. And one of the conversations I had with Council President early on was about, hey, let's take this on. But she made a very important point to me, and that is, the businesses are the victims in this. And so it was really important to have this start, at least, within the Governance, Accountability, and Economic Development Committee, as opposed to my committee. And I support that because it highlights that point, I think, and I just want to put an emphasis on that and how important it is to support our business community in the face of the retail crime that is being committed. I'm also here, since I've already mentioned Ms. Biondo, as still a block watch captain for my neighborhood, and as a former community council public safety chair working with the businesses. So I've been working directly with these businesses in and the challenges they face for years. And it's a daunting challenge, as kind of alluded to. One of the things I know for sure, and it's kind of highlighted with the panel, and as my father used to always say, many hands make light work. This has to be a multi-organizational effort, and we need everybody working together. At the same time, it strikes me too that we also need a ORC czar, at least from the city perspective, and that's something that I will be engaging on. I'm not looking at anybody on this panel necessarily, but it's something that we do need, because we need to have the driver. I will look to drive with the council president here on the council, but we need to drive on this issue, and really, to be honest with you, kind of take that block watch captain, the principles of the block watch, and because it goes to commercial watch and the like, and it's the same things. I've seen it with our commercial in Queen Anne and also here within District 7. And the crime analysis piece is huge, as you may have heard earlier. Retired naval intelligence officer, crime analysis, intelligence. With accountability, of course, is so important. I understand the real-time crime center and how it plays into this topic, and it goes to what we're doing already with the council. The other piece here too is the permissive environment, and this is what's driving a lot of the challenges that we're seeing with our public safety posture. And the organized retail crime lives off this permissive environment that we have, partly because of the massive loss of officers, among other reasons. 6 pillars plus 2. If you want more on that, I can tell you directly. But it also contributes to the permissive environment, this retail crime and what's happening with our businesses, the shoplifting and the like. And we really need to press on this, and it's really to really get a handle as we're looking to attack the overall public safety challenges that we face. And so, but one last thing, because it's not really in the directly in the report, at least I may have missed it. And all those conversations I've had with these business owners, whether a jeweler or whether a small hardware store or or antiques across the board, there's so many, is the question of liability and a question of insurance. That is so important for us to tackle, and it's not really captured in the report, but it's really something that really needs to be addressed, because these businesses so often, the big, chain, the national and so forth is one thing, but for the smaller, more local businesses, those that are operating on such small margin, the liability piece, in terms of how they respond to this, and a lot of that goes like this, which then again contributes to permissive environment, but the other part of this is the rates, that one, claim will put them under, maybe. Yeah, or if they lose insurance completely, massive input. And so, that's all I just wanted to say as a kickoff as the vice chair of this committee and as chair of the other committee. And I'm looking to engage, by the way, beyond the kind of governmental, but also work with our chamber person, representative has already left, but the DSA and the Seattle Metro Chamber of Commerce, as partners, because going back to the idea of many hands make light work, all these small businesses have to have this kind of coalescive, approach to work together to get the lessons learned coming out of this report, what CPTED, practices that we can put in place. And so I look forward to working with them in addition to my colleagues here on the dais. So again, thank you and welcome.
Thank you very much for those comments. I do want to recognize that, Natalie, you have a hard stop at 3:30. So if anybody has a question specifically for her, I would like to make sure that you've got an opportunity to ask.
Yeah.
Councilmember Saka.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. So thank you all for being here today. I love the collaboration and diversity of thought represented at this table. I think that reflects that the solutions to this problem are necessarily going to need to be collaborative and require diverse inputs as well. So really appreciate this presentation. Really important topic. Organized retail crime. Would love to talk about, and my specific question pertains to a specific implementation of this, and that is smash and grabs. And it's a challenge that's afflicting the entire city and our region and our state, our country, obviously. But I can help control what I can control, and that is right here within the city of Seattle. And it's really unfortunate. Speaking of permissive environment, Yeah, I couldn't agree more that the level of how brazen some people are in harming our small businesses and our communities, it is totally out of hand. I'm mindful of the global smoke and vape shop in West Seattle was hit at least 12 times, in a year. Same thing. Global smoke and vape shop. And we talked about the impacts from a race and social justice perspective and equity perspective. This impacts all small business owners, and some of the most vulnerable and historically marginalized are impacted the most, as was kind of pointed out earlier. And I'm also mindful of rush hour in the Junction in West Seattle, who was hit with a smash and grab incident. And it is totally out of hand, and we need to do better as a city. Yes, it is a shared responsibility, and there are many partners from industry and private sector and governments at all levels. And but we need to better as a city do more as well. And so I read the report, which is great. I'm mindful of a couple recommendations in there about prospective legislation and basically support federal and state existing federal and state efforts. I don't want us to rely solely on the hope and pray approach that others are going to step up. We need to partner together, and I think the federal government, state government, best resourced, I guess, to help meaningfully address some of these challenges from a fiat perspective. But in any event, that is an important step. But even assuming that legislation passes, that doesn't absolve us, in my view, of our city responsibility to do more. And because, again, the underlying challenge is totally out of hand. And yes, small businesses are the primary victim. Couldn't agree more. But you know who else is the victim? The paying customer of those businesses. The entire community. Believe it or not, some of those small businesses, not everyone they're not like financially very well off. And some of them are doing it just because they love serving their communities and they love providing their communities with a good or service. And when that is impacted, that increases the likelihood that they're going to go out of business. So everyone is impacted. We're all victimized when this happens. Just we clearly know some more than others. My question is, in addition to advocacy and influencing governments where we have a dependency and mutually aligned interests, what more can we do as a city from a city resourcing perspective, and what additional specific actions can we take to address prevention of smash and grabs, and then also, assuming once they happen, how can we better support small businesses? So what more can we do from a resourcing perspective to prevent and then respond to small business owners when smash and grabs happen? Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I respond to, partially respond? Just to reemphasize, Councilman, I really appreciate you bringing this smash and grab up. Not only is that small business out the product that they lost, they're out the display case, the front door, the repairs that will take days, if not weeks, to repair, and thousands of dollars. And to Councilmember Kettle's comment about liability, I have one small retailer in Wallingford, and he's been hit multiple times. He has stopped filing insurance claims because they've threatened to cancel him. And so he pays out of his pocket to have his store repaired and to pay for the stolen goods. So this is a real problem, and it really does hurt the smaller independent retailers out there. So I appreciate, and part of the solution is education and informing the public, our decision makers. So that's why I am here in particular, and the advocacy part is really important too. So I appreciate this committee looking at this. And just to reiterate what you've said, Council Member.
Thank you. I guess I'm mindful of the hard stop, so I'll let you, Director Walton, respond first. or I guess next, yeah, what more can we do as a city primarily from a resourcing perspective to better prevent smash and grabs and then respond to small business owners once it happens?
Thank you, Councilmember Saka, and I appreciate the representation of West Seattle and also the small businesses. So I appreciate that. I think first of all, again, the police presence and the ability to respond quickly to those smash and grabs is key, and we still need to have more officers in order to do that. I think that's one. I think two, working with our crime prevention teams, especially to ask our crime prevention teams to work with our small businesses. As you just pointed out, our small businesses have small budgets, but are there some things that we can do and work with them specifically and focus on them, because when they do take a loss, it is a huge hit, not just to them, but to our community. I think those are two solutions that I can offer right here. I did reach out to meet with you, so I will be sure to bring more responses when I meet with you soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember Hollingsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick question, and I'll be quick. I've met with a number of grocery stores, QFC, Safeway, PCC, a bunch of grocery stores that are in our neighborhood, in our city. The one thing that they always talk about, QFC on Pike Pine, or excuse me, they're on Pike and Broadway, $1 million a year for security. PCC, they closed downtown. Now they're at 23rd and Union, and that's their highest store worth losses. The Safeway that is in University District is their highest loss leading store for goods in the entire state of Washington. These are facts that they've sent me and we've talked about. The 17 stores that Safeway operates in the city of Seattle, they pay in much as for security in those 17 stores than they do for the entire region for security. The one question they have always asked me, and they've said, they want to be, they are serving our community, they're essential good for our city. They want to be considered different than whatever retail potential laws in terms of like, it impacts them significantly. I mean, it impacts any business significantly. From Madison Park, when I'm talking to people that smash and grabs, oftentimes it's more the destruction of the store where the good, more so that they'll smash and grab and they have to pay $10,000 in just the front door, and then they only stole $10 worth of goods. It's just the destruction's more so than what they stole. But the one thing they've asked is like, hey, what can we have? They're not special treatment, but just be held to a different standard when we're thinking about grocery stores, because they can their margins are super, super thin. I was shocked to hear that Safeway, their profit margins are more in the Hilltop Tacoma store, and I'm from here, I know about Hilltop Tacoma, than all the stores in the entire city. And so I don't know if there's something particular about Seattle that's different, where people, groceries are extremely high, and I'm not talking about the mother who might, baby formula. We're not talking about criminalizing poverty. I'm talking about people that take stuff and you see it on Amazon the next day. I've seen it happen before significantly. I've seen people walk out of a store with $500 worth of meat, high-end meat, just right to their car, and everyone's like, oh, okay, It puts people at a risk. I've heard grocery workers who are like, I'm scared to stop this person. And the amount of data that these grocery stores have, because they keep a list of data, they have information, how many instances they have. I mean, it's very, very, some of them have stopped reporting to the police because it's like, hey, we have our own security detail. My question to you all, and it's not just a statement, I just want to provide that background. What are we doing specifically to make sure that our grocery stores, we can be able to keep them in Seattle so they're not operating at a loss? And I'll tell you the one thing that scares me the most, the merger with Safeway and Kroger. Like Safeway, they're much, and this is no knock, but Safeway, very neighborhood oriented. At some point in time, if a merger, they're going to figure out, okay, is this store operating at a loss and do we need to close it? And that concerns me for stores that are south of I-90 who don't have accessibility, anything north of I-90 with grocery stores or being able to transit. So my question is, how are we going to address and make sure that our grocery stores can be functional and optional, operating effectively in our city as they're essential goods for folks? That was a long-winded statement and question, so thank you.
Can I just start with, I don't have a solution. I don't think our city has any specific solution, so I'd love to work with the panel and you all on crafting something. But I would add that BIPOC grocery stores as well, like the mom and pop, very culturally specific grocery stores, we're losing all of them. In Little Saigon alone, we've lost like at least 3 grocery stores. We're like a block of like 5 blocks. And this past week, although Viet Hoa Supermarket has shut down because of development, because of the vacancies, they also had a big fire, and that has left a big hole in the community. So yeah, our supermarkets, especially ethnic ones, need the support to stay around.
Thank you for that. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because like a lot of these other larger grocery stores, they can, it's not like they can afford it, but they have a little bit more resources to be able to navigate certain things. Another thing is I talk to developers all the time who are looking for anchor businesses. They cannot get a grocery store to operate in the bottom of their business in the city of Seattle just because of the environment that is here. And this is all the way from Columbia City to Rainier Beach, a lot of new developments along that corridor, I-90, Judkins. They're constantly looking for anchor businesses, and they're like, we cannot get any. And I know for the experience of people that live in Seattle, I think to go into a Lowe's, to go into a Walgreens, our district, we've shut down Walgreens in District 3, Rite Aid, we've lost Bartell's. Being cognizant too, that when we lose a lot of those pharmacies, we are creating deserts for people to be able to get their medication. And that's also a loss. And then when we also lose these businesses, a lot of people talk, oh, well, it's Nike, they closed, they're going to Bellevue and North. Do you know how many workers work in these places that come from, places that are from the South End, from all these different folks, and it's just unfortunate. So I'm looking forward to working with this committee regarding ways in which we can kind of curb this to make sure that people have great experiences going out to shop and not having to deal with certain things that create a safety issue. So looking forward to that. And then also hopefully getting a lot of those small mom and pop businesses, those BIPOC owned, Black owned, Asian, all these different to come back that sell those culturally relevant foods to be able to operate in their community. So thank you.
Thank you for those comments. I have a question for, if you would like to, feel free to, I know that you have to go, so don't worry about
Apologies. Thank you,
no problem.
Councilmember.
Thank you very much for coming. So Quinn and Barb, this beautiful neighborhood, Faubec, did I say that correctly?
Oh, dear.
Close. Okay, well, not really. But anyway, so when you were talking, I was thinking, of course, we need to do that. But then another part of my mind was thinking, okay, so you gather all this input. What would we do differently with that information? Because I'm imagining that some people would think, well, we kind of know that it's happening, and so just what are we going to do about it? So that's what I'm interested in knowing.
Yeah, that's a great question. The process that we use, it's an evidence-based, it's actually the strategic prevention framework. It's tweaked a little bit for place-based community engagement around what's going on with this, the community helps us identify the priority crime issues we want to address, which is really important. But then we walk through this problem-solving process. And when we get to the point where we've identified the local risk factors that are helping contribute to that environment that, where the crime is flourishing, basically, we then look at our buckets of evidence-based strategies that we can use to get at that specific problem. So there's different angles that you can come at the problem. And again, like I mentioned in my one earlier, a lot of these are non-law enforcement strategies. They might involve enforcement of other regulatory approaches. and maybe these are things that haven't been enforced that should be. Maybe there's new angles on or new rules that are put in place. Maybe there's incentives that are put in place that help get at the behavior we're striving to get at. It could be the physical environment and things that we need to change there. And it could also be that we need to increase a certain type of guardianship that helps deter the problematic behavior. So it's, it gets at, what we want. We're more specific, we're more diagnostic in this approach than, general like 911 call because there was just a shoplift. This is more of it's definitely a prevention approach.
Council President, if I can give a real life example from our work in Rainier Beach with, Quinn mentioned it, Barb and I were involved in the development of Rainier Beach, a beautiful, safe place for youth, which is also a community-led, place-based crime prevention effort. And we know from decades of research that there are 4 types of evidence-based strategies which are effective for reducing crime at place. One of those is changing the physical environment. We mentioned that several times today. Increased lighting, improved sight lines. So changing the physical environment. Another is improving the ability of the community to work together to solve common problems. That's called increasing collective efficacy. Another evidence-based strategy is increasing guardianship. And in Rainier Beach, in a beautiful, safe place for youth, we hired workers from the Boys and Girls Club to patrol, to walk around after school and make sure that the kids got to their next destination safely. And the 4th bucket of evidence-based strategies, these work, and we know this from the research, is changing rules and policies. So what happened in Rainier Beach is when the community members looked at all of the official crime data and combined it with things like taking a look at the appearance of these spots that we were focused on for trash and graffiti, and then also their own knowledge of the community, a great thing emerged that we really hadn't put together before. One of the crimes that was occurring at Rainier and Henderson was a high level of assaults, and especially among middle school students. And one of the things that the community members were able to bring to the table was that students from another middle school were coming, and they were released earlier than the Rainier Beach students, and they were coming and antagonizing the Rainier Beach students after school. So the community members asked the school district if the school district would change the release times to sync them up so that both middle schools were released at the same time, and therefore those students from the other school could not come and antagonize the Rainier Beach students. And we immediately saw a dramatic drop in those after-school assaults among young people. So that's an example of something that we hadn't really connected the dots on before. And we think that something is similar in Little Saigon as well. One of the issues that, Councilmember Hollingsworth was just talking about meat being stolen from our grocery stores. It may be resold to restaurants or to other brick and mortar places, and that's a public health issue. You don't want to have anybody purchasing meat that has been in a van for a day or so, right? So one of the pieces is education. And that's something that has maybe not happened before, and when we get together with the community, look at all of the data, strategies like improved education could be one of the things that emerges.
And if I could just add one more thing, that what we hope to do in Little Saigon, because we may come up with strategies that we employ that don't quite hit the mark, but we will be identifying the metrics that we know if we're successful, we should see something going up or down. And then the other part of this, though, is that by engaging the community from the start and working with them to define the problems, identifying the risk factors, et cetera, is we're also engaging that community and increasing the capacity of that community of place to better, manage and be able to control the the social norms of their neighborhood and influence them in a positive way. So that's the coalition kind of, stepping up that capacity piece that Claudia mentioned around the social cohesion and collective efficacy. So.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could just add as well, because they've triggered something in me, and that's part of our legislative proposal will be a small business grant program for theft protection efforts. Bollards or barriers in front of stores to prevent smash and grabs, better lighting, security cameras, those type of things. That'll be part of our legislative proposal going forward in January. Will be a small business grant program.
Thank you very much. I've been pushing SDOT to find out what kinds of barriers, bollards, especially in front of cannabis retail shops. But
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, we need to wrap this up a little bit, and I could go on and on. I know that you had a question. Go ahead.
It's just a quick comment because I have a lot of corridors in the D4 small businesses that are really struggling right now, as many of the small businesses across the city. And one thing I'll raise that we haven't really talked about is communications from law enforcement to the small businesses. We all know that we have a lack of police officers, and there's nothing we can do about that today. I mean, we're putting the steps in place to hire them. I'm so happy to hear applications are up since we passed the temporary contract with SPD, but one thing I hear over and over again is we understand there aren't enough officers, but the communication between SPD and the small businesses are important. They want to know that they want to be able to have a touch point, and I think they're not reporting in part because there isn't that touch point, right? They feel like they call, nobody's going to come. When they do call, nobody does come, and then nobody follows up later. And so as part of this, I would love to see, and maybe you can answer this question actually, on what we can do to make sure that those touch points exist, because while we are waiting to scale up both more officers and also some of these recommendations, what can we do from a communication standpoint so that businesses feel heard and they feel like someone's paying attention and that they care? And we all care, you all care, we know that, but it's hard to be a business when it's happening and come and you just don't know what to do.
I would say that we should deploy that technology that you're talking about. I mean, I'm out of my lane here, but I like solutions that really seem simple, low-hanging fruit solutions that we're not doing that don't require the massive lift of restaffing our police force in order to have those resources. So I will be pursuing, or just talking to the executive about that as well, putting in a plug for that. I mean, this is in also accountability because it is our role as a legislative body to oversee the implementation of our policy initiatives, and glad to hear about the increased numbers of applications. We just passed legislation that will hopefully keep those people in the pipeline and get them into a job in SPD once they've been vetted more quickly. So there's a lot that we can do, it seems like, and there are a whole bunch of caveats about why it's difficult. I will mention one. You might not realize this, but I've said it before. In 2022, 100 officers in the investigative units were moved from those units to patrol. And so that means that a lot of this coordination can't happen. The coordination that you're talking about that has to happen between unincorporated in King County and the cities. Sometime offline, I want to ask about how is Executive Constantine facilitating that coordination between the cities and the unincorporateds and all the other, and Seattle in some of that endeavor. But the point is that I want to get beyond an acknowledgement of the gravity of the problem and a statement of what has to be done, and actually see things getting done, and that is our responsibility. Yes, we'll push the package. We will also continue to ask about how we can make better steps on some of your recommendations as well, because people are tired about us stating the obvious, right? Mm-hmm. And they just want to see, and I'm talking about people not just the business owners, but pretty much everybody we talk to. And we only have so many $2,000 grants to give to a business that just had $6,000 of damage to their storefront. That came out of this committee. But anyway, it's urgent, it's pressing. It doesn't rise to the level of the gun violence that we've been hearing about. It's all part of the the ecosystem, permissive environment, perhaps you would say, right? But I really want to say I am so grateful that that we have a blueprint and we have your attention, and we do have partners inside and outside the city in other jurisdictions, private sector, public sector, nonprofits. We're all in the same boat. So let's row there really faster. Are there any comments?
No, just a follow-up on my communications pieces. If we want businesses to report, which we do, and reporting is so important because it really shows you what the need is we also need to make sure we're communicating with them so they feel heard, and then they're more likely to report. So I'll just say that.
I think what you're seeing here is an abundance of political will. So,
and thank you for all you're doing.
Yes.
I mean, the acknowledgement of appreciate the audit, appreciate the work that's going intentionally into this, and the collaboration is clear and needed, and so appreciate it.
All right, we'll be in touch. And
Thank you
so
very
will
much, and I appreciate the political will and look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Okay, will you please read the last item on our agenda?
Agenda item 13, CB 120781, an ordinance updating definitions in the Seattle Municipal Code related to cannabis businesses to align with state law and amending section 6.500.020 of the Seattle Municipal Code, briefing and discussion.
So thank you very much. While we're waiting for folks to come to the table, as I said in briefings, this is a technical cleanup bill that's necessary to bring Seattle code into alignment with state code. I will let our presenters introduce yourselves, please. And sorry, it was.
I apologize.
Welcome. No, please introduce yourselves and take it away.
Great, thank you. Thank you for having us. I'm afraid that we're probably going to be a little drier than your previous presentation, but thank you for meeting with us this afternoon. My name is Beth Gappert. I'm the Division Director for the Consumer Protection Division in FAS. My division is responsible for the licensing and regulation of the cannabis businesses and industry in Seattle. We are here today to talk, as the Council President referenced, a very technical update to our municipal code to bring us back into alignment with state code. I'm going to turn it over to Lakin, who works in my division. She's going to walk us through the presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I do apologize for keeping you waiting. I knew that we had someone who had to leave at 3:30. Otherwise, I would have put this before that.
Absolutely no worries. Thank you.
Hello. Is this on? As Beth said, my name is Lakin Chernia, and I am the strategic advisor who works on cannabis policy for the Consumer Protection Division. And I can walk us through this technical update.
And we are not voting on this today, although it is technical enough to probably feel comfortable doing so, but this is just a presentation.
Absolutely. So, as you may know, the state adopted 2 bills during the 2023 legislative session that have some implications for the city's regulation of cannabis businesses. And as a result, our local code, Title 6500, is now out of alignment with state law. And so the purpose of this proposed ordinance is to bring us back into alignment with state law. Next slide, please. So the first piece of legislation impacting our cannabis code is Senate Bill 5367 concerning the regulation of cannabis products. And this bill makes technical updates to the state's definition for cannabis and cannabis products. And as a result, the definitions for those terms in our own city code are now out of alignment with the state. And because the city's authority to regulate cannabis derives from the state, our rules and laws must be consistent with the state rules and laws related to cannabis businesses. And so the first thing this ordinance will do is bring our definitions for cannabis and cannabis products back into alignment with state law. And you can see that on the slide in front of you right now. Next slide. The second piece of legislation that impacts our regulation of cannabis is Senate Bill 5080, also adopted in 2023. And this bill amended the state's social equity and cannabis program, which is intended to increase diversity in the cannabis industry and redress some of the harms caused by the war on drugs. So as you may recall, in September of 2022, Seattle adopted an ordinance that waives city cannabis licensing fees for all of those who qualify as social equity applicants under the state's social equity program. And to do that, that ordinance adopted the state's definition for social equity applicant and for disproportionately impacted area to specify who it is that qualifies for those waived fees. And since the city's ordinance was adopted in 2022, the state passed Senate Bill 5080, which expands the state's social equity program and makes technical updates to certain definitions. Next slide. So just for some context and to help us understand the impact of Senate Bill 5080, I will note for you that there are currently 87 cannabis businesses that are located in Seattle and licensed by the city. 44 of those are cannabis retailers, and the remainder are some combination of producers and processors or producer-processors. Before Senate Bill 5080, the state's initial social equity program, which was first authorized in 2020, reserved 46 retail licenses for the social equity program. And those licenses were allocated by county, with 8 of them reserved for King County. And so those 8 licensees can choose to locate anywhere within King County, but they are subject to local zoning and other local cannabis regulations. The LCB just awarded this first round of 46 retail licenses in September of 2023. And so those applicants are now working through the process of securing locations and getting their businesses set up. Only 2 to 3 licensees so far across the whole state have actually completed that process and opened their doors, and none of them have opened in Seattle at this point. We have had initial inquiries from 3 businesses, but none of them have completed or even begun the local licensing process. So we are anticipating about 2 to 3 of those social equity applicants from that first round may ultimately end up opening their doors here in Seattle. So then in 2023, Senate Bill 5080 was passed, and that expands the state social equity program by authorizing up to 10 new producer licenses, 100 new processor licenses, and 52 new cannabis retail licenses for the social equity program. And those licenses are expected to be awarded between now and 2032. Unlike standard cannabis licenses, and unlike the first round of social equity licenses, these ones can be located anywhere in the state, so they're not designated by city or county, and it's entirely up to the applicant, though they will still be subject to local zoning and regulations. And so because of that, we of course can't say with any degree of certainty how many licenses will wind up in Seattle, but due to a variety of factors, including market conditions and zoning restrictions, we're anticipating about a handful will ultimately end up here. Next slide, please. So in addition to authorizing new social equity licenses, that Senate Bill 5080 also alters the state's definitions for social equity applicant and for disproportionately impacted area. And to be clear, the intended beneficiaries of the program remain the same, and these are just tweaks or updates to the methodology that the state uses to award social equity licenses. And their goal is to better capture the areas and communities that were most harmed by the war on drugs. So, they learned some things from the first round of licenses, they've tweaked their methodology, updated their definitions. But again, because of these changes, the definitions contained in our local code are now out of date. And as a result, those who are granted a social equity cannabis license by the state under the new state definitions might not automatically qualify for a fee waiver in Seattle. Next slide, please. So in response to these changes at the state level, the proposed ordinance you're considering today will, as previously mentioned, update the city's definitions for cannabis and cannabis products to reflect state law. And it will also change the definition in our code for social equity applicant to anyone granted a cannabis license by the LCB under the state social equity program. And then, because it's no longer referenced in our definition for social equity applicant, we can eliminate the definition entirely for disproportionately impacted area. Next slide. So ultimately, these changes will bring our code back into alignment with state law. It will ensure that all social equity applicants remain eligible for waived city cannabis licensing fees, and it will simplify our code and allow us to maintain alignment with the state's social equity program as it continues to evolve over time. Next slide, please. So the proposed legislation supports the goals of the city's Race and Social Justice Initiative by reducing barriers to success and promoting diversity in the cannabis industry through continued fee waivers for all social equity applicants, as was originally intended by the city's social equity and cannabis ordinance. Next slide. And finally, we don't anticipate that this proposed ordinance will have any meaningful impact, any meaningful fiscal impact on FAS or the city as a whole. As I mentioned, we're anticipating a handful of new social equity licensees, and we expect that we'll be able to absorb the marginal costs of regulating those few new businesses within our existing budget and staffing structure. So with that, we'd be happy to take any questions.
If anybody hold questions here, thank you very much. Thank you very much for this explanation. I very much appreciate it. It was makes sense to me. And also we of course want to make sure that we can implement these policy goal of extending the fee waivers.
Absolutely.
But Keetal, I'm sorry that I didn't ask you to introduce yourself. I know that you did work on a memo, so I would like to invite you.
Council Central Staff. Thank you, Council President. There is a memo from Central Staff. Again, just FAS described that this is a technical bill. There's not a change of policy here. There are some practical implications that flow not so much from a change in city law, but a change in state law. There'll be a few more social equity applicants that may apply for licenses with the city, but it's not a policy change proposed here.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. So, more detail in the memo. Are there any questions from my colleagues?
May I say something?
Yes, please.
Thank you all. I'm gonna just be brief. It's no secret. My family has a cannabis farm out in Shelton. Had extensive work on House Bill 2870 with Representative Morgan, and then 5080, which was sponsored by Senator Saldana for social equity. I think it's a technical, from my understanding, it's a technical bill for us to align with state law. The difference in Washington State is it's top down, so the government legislative does something at the government level, and then cities can decide if they want to align with it. California is a little different because it's top down. That's why LA is very different than Oakland and San Francisco with their social equity laws, because they can do it from the ground up. So really supportive of us aligning with social equity, the definition at the state level, just because there's a lot of intention behind that and a lot of work done. There was a social equity task force. There were a ton of legislators. This passed through the House bill with legislators on both sides and the Senate, and looking forward to a lot of those potential retail stores opening here in Seattle. Only 2% of the market is Black-owned businesses for retail in both producer processors in the state of Washington. So looking forward when those businesses open, I think it will be a great thing. When we passed I-502, social equity was not included in that. And so we are playing significant amount of catch up in our city of Seattle, unfortunately, because that was not at the beginning with social equity. And so now we're playing catch up, unfortunately. The market's matured, so it's really hard. So I really appreciate the work that you all are doing to make sure that we're aligned with the state law. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. So thank you very much. We will take this up at our next meeting, and on the 27th, I believe. We're talking about zoning changes, there was hints at that. There will likely be additional legislation. It might not all come through this committee. Actually, usually legislation that has to do with FAS goes through the Finance Committee, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, the Finance Committee. There might be some land use things. So when it comes to the broader topic of cannabis legislation, it could be anywhere, but thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
I know how important it is to conform to state law. Makes things a lot easier, doesn't it? Okay, with that, does anybody have any other business to put before us? Questions, comments? Okay. Well, then this concludes the June 13th meeting of the Governance, Accountability, and Economic Development. And our next committee meeting is scheduled for June 27th at 2. And hearing no further business, it is now 4:08, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.